As for the mind, this mind as it is, left uncultivated or unimproved, being left as it is the mind which has been with us all along our lifetimes, this is the result, the resultant mind, or resultant consciousness of one's life. Now you cannot say it as pure or impure. It's neither pure nor impure. Difficult to say. However, when it is mixed with mental states or mental concomitants, they become colored. When this mind, as it is, or consciousness, is not associated with such mental states as lobha, dosa, moha, then it remains pure, because it is the resultant consciousness of one's life, such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. Ordinary seeing as just seeing, hearing as just seeing, hearing, tasting as just tasting, and so on. Such are the resultant consciousness. And in the text was given that when the mind is not associated with impurity, then it remains pure. If it's not associated with such mental states like wholesome or unwholesome mental states, they remain as it is in its initial original state, pure original state. If such a consciousness is not controlled with the practice of satipatthana, then even if you control, it is not properly controlled, systematic control. At times, it can become associated with such mental state like lobha, greed. Greed is a mental state which is associated with the mind or consciousness. At other times, it is associated with ill will, dosa. At other times, with moha, delusion, another mental state. At times, it can be totally free from these mind states, lobha, dosa, moha, and be associated with the wholesome mental states like alobha, non-greed, dosa, non-hatred, moha, non-delusion. Then one's mind is said to be free from these unwholesome mental states. When the mind is, as it is in a pure state, is colored, so to speak, with so-called cetasikas, mind states or mental states. Like when you dye or color the colorless water with some color, such as red, blue, yellow, and so on. This colorless water becomes colored according to the dye or color you put in. The same thing goes with the pure mind. When it is associated with such mental states like lobha, dosa, moha, then it will not be in its original state. It becomes colored with unwholesome mental states. Now, as for the yogis, they just note whatever arises, whatever is associated with, and they note as it is, as they arise. So, in brief, sometimes it can be pure, with pure mental states. Sometimes it is colored, and you just note as it exists, And such is the contemplation of the mind with the practice of Satipatthana and Vipassana, and noting these mind objects is known as Citta Vipassana Satipatthana. Contemplation, mindfulness with the contemplation of the mind. In the Satipatthana Sutta, it discourses on the four establishments of mindfulness. It's given the mind objects of attention in pairs. Now the first pair is given as Saraga Citta and Vidaraga Citta. Saraga Citta, wanting mind, mind which desires, longing, craving, becoming attached. When wishing to see pleasant visible object, pleasant forms, wishing to hear pleasant sounds and so on, associated with greed or craving or attachment. The thought process which is associated with greed or attachment. When one sees, hear, taste, touch and so on, with respect to agreeable, desirable objects, then one tends to become attached, and such mind, wanting mind, can arise. Mostly prior to the practice, yogis might have experienced such things, even during the practice. If one is not noting precisely and energetically, then one may not be able to grasp the object. One may either overshoot the object or not being able to catch up with the object, especially if you don't exert enough energy. So that your mind is out of control, no mindfulness. Only with the mindfulness your mind is protected in accordance with the quality of this sati. Now if you are not noting, your mind is not protected, so that the noting mind is not coherent or attached to the object. Is not anchoring into the object. It is removed from the object. Uddhacca, restlessness, takes place. And at that time, as much as one indulges in imagination, thoughts, sometimes for 1 minute or 2 minutes, 3 minutes and so on, sometimes the fragmentary thoughts come one by one after another, and such thought process of mind which is happening like this is known as Saraga Citta, a wanting mind, a mind which is desiring or which becomes attached to agreeable object, wanting it, becoming attached, desiring it, craving. So when such thing arises in such a situation, yogis are to note as wanting, or becoming attached. With one noting, such attachment may be gone, just like that. But sometimes it doesn't go, so you got to go on noting. And if you go on noting like this, they're bound to be overcome. There will be no more wanting. And such a thought process or mind or consciousness is known as Vidaraga Citta, mind free of attachment or wants or desires. It's wanting mind, craving, becoming attached, is in brief Saraga Citta. And when you have no wanting, pure mind, free of wanting or desire, such mind or thought process is known as Vidaraga Citta. So one cannot say that every time the mind is pure, we cannot say that it's Vidaraga Chitta. Only when it is really pure, we can call it Vidaraga Chitta. Sometimes there is dissatisfaction, anger, ill will, although there is no raga, no attachment, no greed, and that we cannot call Vidaraga Chitta. Only when the mind is pure. If there is dosa is not pure. Let us say there's wanting mind, you're wanting something in the course of the practice, craving something for 1 minute or 2 minutes, and you note it, and you are aware of this raga, and this is Cedanupassana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the mind. Sometimes with one noting, or sometimes with many notings, you become free of raga, and the mind becomes pure and clear, and such is Vidaraga Chitta, mind free of raga. Sometimes you have to note purposely, or you may not note purposely, you know it without noting that you are free of raga. And Buddha has given in the text that all these things are to be noted. If it's Saraga Chitta, note as Saraga Chitta. If it's Vidaraga Chitta, note as Vidaraga Chitta. Noting and knowing whatever happens, whether it is a wanting mind or not wanting mind.
Saraga Vidaraga Chitta.
Just as we have this Saraga Chitta and Vidaraga Chitta, wanting mind and not wanting mind, we have this Sadosa Chitta and Vidadosa Chitta. Let's say angry mind, or ill will, or non-ill will, or the mind which is associated with dosa or free of dosa. Sadosa Chitta and Vidadosa Chitta. When you think about an object or see, hear, taste, touch and so on, you become dissatisfied, disappointed, or depressed, or become angry, upset, then your initial original mind is said to be destroyed, affected. Become depressed, malicious mind, ill will. All these things come under dosa. So when such thought process or consciousness arises, this is known as Sadosa Chitta, the angry mind. And whenever such mentality or mind arises, you just note as such, as angry, ill will, dissatisfied, and so on. And with one or two notings, this dosa may be overcome. You become free of, your mind becomes free of dosa. Or you have to go on noting repeatedly, then this angry mind will be mostly overcome. At that time, your mind is free from dosa, and such is Vidadosa Chitta, which can be noted, known by noting, or just known without noting. When you are wanting, your mind is wanting something, and you are asked to note wanting, if wanting is wanting, then will we not want more and more by noting wanting as wanting? Do we not want more and more? And if we note ill will, anger, then will you not become more and more angry? That is the question by some people. So, and mindfulness is not mindfulness encouraging saraga citta or sadosa citta, a mind, angry mind, wanting mind. Does it not tantamount to encouraging more and more wanting mind or angry mind? And this may be true with ordinary people who are not practicing Satipatthana. Now, as for the yogis, they are practicing in order to overcome kilesas, defilements. Ordinary people are not practicing mindfulness. So as for the yogis, they are watchful every moment of the practice so as not to allow these impurities from entering the stream of consciousness. They are wakeful and diligent. They are activating mindfulness not to allow these things to enter. And if they enter at all, they will note them off. So that as much as they are mindful, impurities will not be given a chance to enter. So in this way the mind becomes pure, and they will allow only pure mind, pure things to enter the mind, one's mind, not impure ones. Because if the mind is not secure, because there is no protection, then all these disturbances, torturing elements, undermining elements are bound to enter. They will have a chance to enter if our mind is not protected, because the mind is not protected. However, when the mind is protected, these undermining elements have no freedom of coming and invading you. Just like these undermining elements are just like the wicked, evil persons. When there is no protection in your house, these evil rogues will come in and rob you of all your property. They will, knowing that your house is not protected, your house is not secure, they will not hesitate to enter your house anytime with freedom. Now, because you are wakeful, diligent, when they come in, suppose you make a little noise in your house, just make a little cough once or twice, as though you are you're awake, then they'll be scared. Oh, that house owner, landlord is wakeful, he's awake. We cannot go in. So too with the mind. Because if they enter, if the landlord is awake, if they enter, they're bound to suffer. They're bound to be arrested and so on. Now they hear the noise, the cough, whatever, or some sort of noise, they will leave sooner or later. So that is the analogy given. So as for the yogis, they are wakeful in order to keep these impurities, which are like wicked people, away, so that they cannot enter, guarding your mind with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, noting the immediately arising object, energetically with precision, and you are always mindful. There's always security, protection. When there's good protection, there will be security. When there's a security, there will be freedom from all these undermining elements, and there will be peace. Even if they try to enter, and because you are wakeful, they will not be able to come near you, because you are always wakeful. And if these undermining elements come, they will be in trouble. So now you are always mindful. So you are not accepting these impurities. Your mind is only accepting purities. At this point, this virya also comes in. Virya is crucial to give assistance, a heroic energy, so as not to accept these impurities, such as lobha, dosa, moha. It will only allow pure mind, pure mental states to enter, like allowing only good people. So as much as you are energetic, you'll be able to activate your mindfulness, so that these raga, dosa, craving and anger or ill will, all these things, all these enemies, wicked people, will not be able to come in. And even if they come, they will not be given a chance. If they come in, they know that you are wakeful, they will run away. And in this way, you will be free from all these impurities. Now the analogy given here is when the parents have children to bring up, they want their children to be good citizens, to grow up in good circumstances, not to associate with delinquents, or not to become delinquents themselves. So they have to protect their children by all means, especially not to associate with bad children, other bad children, or delinquents. Since our children are not so, they like experience, they are not trained properly, they are not experienced. Sometimes, in most cases, they think what is bad as good, and what is not correct as correct. Always they want to be opposite. They want to rebel against existing things, society. So, most cases, as the saying goes, mind is more intent on unwholesome, unskillfulness. There's more of mind can become bad rather than becoming good. Their mind, they will not become good children by themselves if they are left without any control. So they have to be nurtured as much as they are nurtured by way of food, when they are young, nutritive food, and food with some elements and vitamins and things like that. So also they have to be looked after in many ways. So too with the mind. We have to look after the mind so as to be free from impurities, and nurture the mind so as to improve the mind, so as to cultivate the mind. And this can only be done by way of planning. You must plan it, not just do it haphazardly. In the medical science, it is said that when it comes to diseases, infections, prevention is better than cure. It's better to prevent than cure. Same thing with the mind, diseases, mental diseases from entering the mind. These raga dosa are like mental diseases, and we prevent them from coming, or protect our mind from these elements, undermining elements. And the surest method is the practice of satipatthana, by which we can protect our mind. Nurturing the mind, like nurturing the children, nurturing the kids. And it is very important to give preference, to give prominence to this activity. And as much as you give protection, and if you are sure, if you are with a sure method, then you will be secure. And if your mind is secure, there will be freedom, freedom from bondage. So sometimes you have to protect immediately or in a timely manner, or timely treatment. Like when you contract disease, you have to treat it in a timely manner. Just like the parents have to protect their children in time, so that they will not associate with bad kids. So too, one should control. They are educated and they are controlled. So too with the mind, and so too with the disease, so too with the health. You have to prevent. You have to take care of your health, and then treat it as quickly as possible. If you are infected with some kind of infections. So too with the mind. You have to cultivate your mind, nurture it with the practice of Satipatthana, so as to protect your mind from the raga, dosa, mental diseases. At times it is all right, you can do it properly. But at other times, these mental diseases really enter your stream of consciousness. Then at once you have to note and purify your mind. Just like when you become contracted with a disease, at once you have to go to a doctor and get treated. So you have to think about your practice in terms of these analogies. Analogy in the form of bringing up the children, nurturing the children, or nurturing yourself, your health, so that you remain healthy and not to contract any disease, protecting in a timely manner. And if you're free from disease, or even if you become infected with the disease, you can treat it in a timely way, then you'll be happy and become satisfied. So too with the raga, dosa, mental diseases. And it is very important to nurture our mind, so that you can, if such things arise in your mind, you have to note as soon as it arises closely the intention to harm others. And for those who are conceited and proud, they always want to gain the upper hand, not the lower hand. They don't want to be a loser. That's why they become angry. And knowing that, one should practice to possess metta in ordinary life, and also to wish for the welfare of others. And when one is wishing for the welfare of others, one should always be oneself who is tolerant, who is patient, and who is forgiving, and who will take pains, who will be the loser. One should be always the loser, not making other people the loser. So then one will become free of dosa, anger, ill will. Especially if you practice, cultivate the mind with the practice of Satipatthana Bhavana, your mind will be free of dosa. You can also do with through reflection, the power of reflection. But that is not sure. The surer method, the most sure method, the surest method is Bhavana Bala, the power of meditation, preventing your mind from these anger, ill will, the angry mind, and if they arise at all, You just note and abandon or overcome. Then your mind will become a Vida Dosa Chitta, mind free of anger, pure mind. And the Buddha said that if you have Sadosa Chitta, you have to note as such that you have Sadosa, angry. If you have Vida Dosa Chitta, you are free of anger, then you can note as such. In connection with the Chitta Nupassana Satipatthana, Samoha Chitta and Vida Moha Chitta. Now as for Samoha Chitta, this in a sense is becoming doubtful, skeptical doubt and restlessness, distraction. It is not concerned with raga or dosa. There's no raga dosa involved in it. It is delusion, lack of clarity, confusion, the mind which is associated with these mind states. There can be this samoha, that means the mind or thought process associated with delusion, based on lobha, greed. That means it is sort of thinking about sensual pleasures, kama gunas, not in a very clear or prominent, obvious manner, unobviously, or casually. One is thinking about sensual pleasures. That is the samoha chitta, based on greed, lobha. And this, there can be this boasting oneself, and this taking the upper hand, and also the holding the view of atta, self or soul. And such mind is known as samoha chitta, the mind associated or deluded mind associated or based on moha. This moha again is not knowing the truth as truth. So one becomes undecided, deluded, confused. There's no clear-cut mind, and such is moha. And the mind or consciousness which is associated with that is known as deluded mind, undecided mind. Then again we have this samoha chitta, which is based on dosa. The first one is based on lobha. This one is based on dosa. That is being frightened, fear, anxiety, sorrow, worry, mental distress, detesting, and jealousy, envy, avarice, worry. All these things are known as samoha chitta. To put it down to practice for the yogis, sometimes it may happen that all these minor objects, because one is not determined to note, not to miss even the trifles, trivial objects, then because one is not determined like this, one is not done like this, so one may be noting casually, and there may be sudden, quick movements instead of slow movements. Every time there is sudden movement, quick movement, one is not able to note, to follow these objects. So one is not aware of the nature of this mind and body. That means losing one's mindfulness. So that when one loses mindfulness of these small objects, then one becomes deluded and not clear-cut, such as samoha chitta. In ordinary language, losing loss of mindfulness, loss of awareness. And this can happen continuously. This process may go on until one realizes that one has lost this mindfulness. And yogis sometimes will not know that they are being deluded, and they are missing this mindfulness. They have lost this mindfulness. So this samoha can arise in your mental process, and you have to note as soon as it arises, as it is, note as it is. That is, you become deluded, or you're missing, you're forgetting. So when you note like this, you will be able to overcome that and free of moha, and your mind will become pure. You feel the clarity of your mind. So note as it is, noting as it is. As the Buddha says that if you have samoha citta, be aware of this samoha citta. If there's vida moha citta, that is free of moha, then you become aware. That means note as such. Then we have this pair, samketa citta and vigeta citta. As for this samketa citta, this is slackness, laziness, not wishing to exert energy in noting every arising object. One is not noting because one is not exerting energy. One is lax or slackening, not wishing to exert energy, and one is weak. One is noting with weak energy, not a strong, powerful energy, not wishing to exert energy, or one gets exhausted even if one exerts energy. And this is known as this. We say that the mind is said to have shrunken and to have narrowed or shrunken, not widening or not spreading out. So such things can happen in those who do not exert energy at all, adapa, launavariya, ardent energy, or even if they exert, they are not exerting enough ardent energy, so that the mind tends to shrink, and this happens for those who are not energetic. And it is said that the internal mind, the mind can shrink instead of expanding. And now the mind which expands, when the mind expands, that means the mind widens. That is known as viketa citta. The mind tends to spread out instead of staying in one place. That is known as viketa citta. And one has got to note whether one's mind shrinks or spreads out and not staying in one place. These are the things that yogis always confront or face at the beginning of the practice. And this, we come to this Sandita citta and Samadita citta and Asamadita citta. The first one is concentrated mind or calm mind, and the other one is agitated mind. Now as for the Samadita citta, which is calm and collected mind, it is not agitated by way of raga. One is not agitated with raga or dosa. Such is the calm mind. And also one is not agitated with other impurities, not only raga dosa. And because there's no impurities such as raga dosa, and it's free of agitation, like when the water is still without any waves or ripples, and then the water will remain clear. Sometimes you can see through, so that there will be no sediments, no mud coming up, and the water remains clear and calm. So if once mind is like this, in the course of the practice, the mind will always remain pure and clear, not being agitated by raga or dosa, or there will be no impurities. Because there are no impurities, the mind becomes calm and clear. The reverse of that is agitation, not calm, not clear. Agitated with raga and dosa, so that the mind does not remain calm. Just like when the water is, there's some waves in the water. As much as there are waves, then there's bound to be sediments and mud coming up, and so that like the agitated water with waves, then there will be a lot of sediments, and it will not be calm and clear. Whatever happens, whenever such things arise, you just note as they arise. And we have this pair, Vimoti Chitta, Avimoti Chitta. Avimota Chitta, Avimota Chitta. This Avimota Chitta is liberating mind, and Avimota Chitta is the opposite of that. I might call it binding mind. And in the case of the Vimota Chitta, liberating mind, you are liberated or free from bondage of negative undermining elements, such as these impurities, such as raga, dosa, and so on, or they call kilesas or nivaranas, hindrances to progress. Wishing to enjoy sense of pleasures, wishing to see agreeable objects, hear agreeable sound, and so on. All these things, when all these things happen, you are under bondage. Now you are free from bondage, free from these impurities, such as Vimota Chitta, free mind. Or sometimes you have dosa, anger, or you mean this, we're talking about the nivaranas, hindrances to progress, beginning with hindrances of sense desires, hindrances of ill will, hindrances of sloth and torpor, hindrances of restlessness and worry, and hindrances of skeptical doubt. So you are free from these. Such free mind is known as Vimota Chitta. In order to be free from these undermining elements, you guard yourself with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, beginning with the main object of rising and falling. As they arise, noting energetically and precisely, with sustained mindfulness. If your noting is continuous for 1 minute, then you can say 60 times you are free. And if you are noting 5 minutes or 1 hour, then you can imagine how much freedom you are experiencing, you are getting. And if you are noting, and if you are not noting, then kilesas you are allowing kilesas to enter. You are inviting them. If you are noting, then you are free from kilesas. It is on a part-time basis, momentarily. And if there is one moment of mindfulness, then these impurities which can arise if you are not mindful will not enter. So that with just one moment of mindfulness, you are free from kilesas for 1 moment. Such is known as Tadanga Vimoti, momentary freedom, as part-time, on a part-time basis. You are free only on a part-time basis at the moment of your mindfulness. In this way you are free from these negative undermining elements or hindrances to progress. So such free mind is known as Vimota Chitta, part-time freedom. And mind, if you are under bondage, insecure mind, we call it Avimota Chitta, opposite of that. So as for the Avimota Chitta can arise in those who are not noting, instead of noting, they may be thinking or spaced out, imagining, And for those who are prone to imagination, may be lost in imaginations and things like that, instead of noting what arises, so that they are not free from the bondage of these undermining negative elements. In the world, either one person or many people can sort of restrict the movement of restrict others' movements, can bind other people so that they are not free, and so that those people who are under bondage will not gain freedom and will be under torture, and they will be very tired and wearied, and they are bound to suffer. So they look for loopholes, and then they do something in a suitable way, in legal manner, so that they can sort of start a movement, and if they do some activities, and as much as they start these activities, then they will find some ways and means, and all these loopholes will be seen, such as spiritual revolution, in order to be free from these undermining elements which have taken the upper hand all along our lifetimes. We are under bondage of these kamachandas, sense desires. We have to be free from these things with spiritual revolution. And being based on the moral good conduct, practice mindfulness, guarding with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, with taking an aim at the object energetically. This is the real spiritual revolution, to be free from this bondage. If you are mindful for one moment, then you'll be free from that moment. If you're free for 1 minute, 60 times you'll be free. And in 1 hour, how much freedom you'll get, you can just imagine. So, simple arithmetic. So the Buddha has said that one has got to gain freedom, to struggle to gain freedom. The Buddha has gained freedom by his own struggle, and he has shown the way for others, for all beings, to struggle to gain freedom, and that method is none other than Satipatthana. So one has got to cultivate and nurture one's mind, cultivate the mind with bhavana bala, the power of meditation, and to possess freedom, or to have free mind, vimutta citta. We shall continue tomorrow.